Okay, well, it is good to see everybody. I'll leave that on for just a second. In fact, the past couple of days, all we've been doing is testing, so it's actually going to be nice to talk about something today. All right, so before we go ahead and get started, I have just a couple of housekeeping items to go ahead and run through. So, hello. Ooh, we're super. All right, come on in. Okay, so the plan for today, we're going to go ahead and wrap up absolute value equations. Now, we did start this last Friday, but we'll go ahead and finish it today. You've got the homework assignment right here. Remember, the key for every homework assignment is always posted to our website. We're going to talk about the homework tomorrow. We're going to finish out this week with a quiz over absolute value equations. So I'm hoping this is going to be an easy quiz to go ahead and maybe get some confidence back because the CFA was a little lower than I would have liked. Okay, so talking about the CFA, okay, if you did score below an 80 and you're wanting to retake that, okay, you have until next Friday morning, not this Friday, next Friday morning. So you still got a week and a half. Okay. You still got a week and a half. Now, for this one, there's no assignment tied to it. We did have the review, but that doesn't need to be completed. All you got to do is come in, Mr. West, I want to retake that CFA. We're good to go. I'll go ahead and get you taken care of. Okay, so we got the retake next Friday. Okay, anytime between now and then, you have a quiz, one more grade before the long weekend because next week is progress reports. Okay, I also want to go ahead and bring your attention to this. Okay, I had it on the board yesterday, but just in case you didn't see it, next Thursday on September 4th, you got your first exam of the 9 weeks. Okay, so it's going to cover everything we've talked about up to that point. So it's going to have the review material, so linear functions, inequalities, some material about quadratics. So basically be looking at that review, and then absolute value equations and inequalities. Okay, so after tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and start the inequalities version of that. Okay, so questions on that? Okay, fantastic. What else do I have here? So tomorrow we've got our first pep rally, but that's during 8th period, so that's really not going to affect us. Contracts. Is there anybody who still has a contract for me? Okay. So if you haven't got that turned in, I'm going to be pulling people aside on Friday and just kind of talking with you. Hey, why haven't I got that contract yet? Can I get that contract? I'd really like that contract. And then also I'm going to be speaking to the people who haven't logged on to College Board yet and joined 7th period Algebra 2 Pre-AP. If that applies to anybody, please, please, please put that at the top of your list. Get that taken care of as soon as you can. Okay, a lot of information, but do we have any questions? Fantastic. Okay, so now one thing that I'm going to make an exception this time because it's still really, early in the school year. But remember, one of the supplies that I encourage you to get is like a binder or maybe a folder or something to keep all of the notes that we go over in class. So I've already had several people approach me. I kind of figured this would happen because we haven't talked about this since Friday, but you need to be able to keep up with these materials. Okay, so these are the notes that we're going to be looking at today. We started on Friday. If you need a copy, bless you, raise your hand high, and I will help you out. There we go. The notes from the past Friday, it's going to look just like this. It's going to say warm up, steps to solve absolute value equations. So I need one right here. One for him. Anybody else? Got one here, one here. Okay. Everybody else, fantastic. Okay. So let's see what we got going on. In fact, I don't think we got very far on these. So just a quick recap. What is absolute value? It's the distance from what? The distance from 0 on a number line. And we have the notation of these 2 long bars. So if I were to give you something like the absolute value of 10, you would tell me what? 10. If I gave you the absolute value of a negative 10, you would tell me 10. The result is always going to be positive because in real life, we don't have a negative distance. It doesn't make sense. Like if I were to throw something across the room, I didn't throw it negative 20 feet. Okay, we're talking about the distance from 0 on the number line. But it's because of this idea right here. See, two different numbers gave me the same result. That's why we solve the equations the way we do. We have to set up two different equations to get our answers. Now, we haven't come across any yet, but it is possible that when we plug our solution or solutions back in, it may not work. We call that extraneous. Basically, that is a false solution. Okay, well, let's take a look. I want to say, looks like we got to 5. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's just keep going right down the list. Now, before I go ahead and even create my two equations, there's something I've got to do. What am I going to do in number 6? Yeah. I've got 3 absolute value of m plus 8 equals 39. Actually, it is, you can distribute across absolute value, but we're going to go ahead and not do that because it could lead to certain complications. But it is actually possible to do that. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Hello. Oh, thank you. Somebody's coming in. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the first step when solving an absolute value equation is you first have to get the absolute value all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and divide through by 3. So that's going to give me the absolute value of m plus 8 is equal to 13. Okay. Now, once you've got your equation where the absolute value, there's nothing outside those bars, this is when you create your two equations. Okay. The first equation will look exactly like you see right here. So I'm going to say m plus 8 is equal to 13. Okay. Now, it's been a while, but can anybody remind me what happens when I write my second equation? One thing changes. What you got, sir? What's that? Okay. So tell me what equation I should have. M minus 8 equals 13. We're very close. So you are correct that we change a sign, but that's not the sign I change. Okay, what you got, man? There we go. So whatever's in the bars, that stays the same. It's the constant that's going to change sign. Okay. So one of these is equal to 13. Bless you. The other one will equal, bless you, negative 13. Okay. Now we go ahead and solve for both of our equations. And this is going to be super easy. All I got to do in each case is subtract 8. So for at least the first couple, I'll show the movement of terms. So first 13 minus 8, 5. And then we'll subtract 8 again. But this time, what's a negative 13 minus 8? Okay. There we go. So I've got, bless you, 2 possible solutions. Questions. Now, we don't know, they may be correct. This is one of those times where you can kind of roll the dice, okay? Because it's possible one or both of those could be extraneous. Okay? So a check is just going to be super quick. Let's check this 5. So I've got 3 times the absolute value of 5 plus 8. Okay. Well, let's see. 5 plus 8, that's going to give me a 13. What's the absolute value of 13? 13 times 3. 39. Okay, so that one works. Okay. See, you should never do more work in your check than the original problem. Okay, all you're doing is confirming your answer. Okay, let's try that negative 21. So this is going to be 3 times the absolute value. M plus 8 is a negative 21 plus 8. Well, let's see here. I need a negative 21 plus 8. Okay, negative 13. So it's going to be a big negative 13 right here, just so I don't have to write it again. Well, what's the absolute value of a negative 13? Times 3? 39. There we go. Okay, so what we want to do is write our answers as a roster. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my squiggly brackets. I'm going to say negative 21 and 5. And there you go. That's all there is to it. Okay. Now, what if you go ahead and accidentally switch those? What if you put 5 comma negative 21? Will I count off for that? Absolutely, I will. I'm kidding. super funny. Yeah. That doesn't bother me because to me, that shows that you're understanding the concept. So we would prefer that you do put it in order, but I'm not going to take off with that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So let's try another one. Let's try number 7. Okay. 16 times the absolute value of r minus 5 equals a negative 32. Okay. Joseph, what should I do first? Okay. Let's divide out that 16. Give myself a little more room here. Okay. Divide by 16. Divide by 16. So the absolute value of r minus 5 is equal to negative 2. Okay. The absolute value is by itself. Okay. What do I do? Make 2 equations. Okay, what's the first one? In the first equation, all I lose are the what? The bars. Get rid of the bars. So my first equation is going to be r minus 5 equals negative 2. What's the second equation? R minus 5 equals a positive 2. Okay? And then these are super easy to solve, right? All I got to do is add 5. What's a negative 2 plus 5? So that's 3. Okay? This time a 2 plus 5 is 7. Okay? Now, let's go ahead. This is why I encourage you to check. Let's check the 3. So I'm going to plug this in here. Okay? So I've got 16 times the absolute value, r minus 5. That would be 3 minus 5. Okay. Well, what's 3 minus 5? Isn't that a negative 2? What's the absolute value of a negative 2? 2 times 16, that gives me 32. What's the problem? It's negative. That one didn't work. That's our first extraneous solution. Okay. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if I try to plug 7 in, it's going to do the exact same thing. Did anybody happen to know ahead of time that wasn't going to work? Because we had a clue. Okay, what you got, Joseph? There you go. Remember, absolute value can only ever give you what kind of number? Positive. But you'll notice here, when I simplified, I've got the absolute value giving me a negative number. That can never happen. If you ever run into a situation like that, you don't even have to go any further. We're just going to go ahead and say there's no solution. Okay. Well, that's going to make number 8 easy because the absolute value is equal to a negative, so I guess we're done. Why not? Okay, so let's get rid of that negative 2. So if I want to get rid of a fraction, I'm going to multiply that fraction by its denominator. Okay, so I'm going to multiply through by negative 2. So when I distribute here, those negative 2's cancel. The absolute value of y minus 10 is equal to what? 12. So this one actually turns out okay. Because it equals a positive number, we're going to continue. Okay. What's my first equation? Okay. Y minus 10 equals what? 12. What's the second equation? There you go. Okay. So if I go ahead and add 10, what's my first solution? 22. And if I add 10, negative 12 plus 10, that gives me, okay, negative 2. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you both of these do work. But I would encourage you, take a few seconds, plug in your answers, and see what happens. So I'm going to write in the squiggly brackets, negative 2, comma, 22. Okay. That's all there is to it. Anybody having a hard time? Okay. So you're probably thinking to yourself, Mr. West, this is easy. I could do one on my own. Okay. Let's try this one. Negative 5 equals the absolute value of 8 minus p minus 11. Try this one. Let me go ahead and give you a minute. to go ahead and work this one. And then we'll come back in just a second. Yes. We are working number 9. Number 9. Okay, we're out of 13. Okay. Wish I could play any of them. Sure. Okay. All right, so that was 1 minute. Do we still need a few more seconds, or are we okay? Okay, a few more seconds? Okay. Let's take a few. Yeah. So let's click Create Paths. Okay, and then go ahead and type in your 1000. Okay, click on your name, continue. Go to the restroom, and you'll choose Second Girls. There you go, right down here. You're good to go? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and catch up with you real fast. So I can't create my equations yet. First thing I got to do to get this by itself, I got to add the 11. Okay, so what's a negative 5 plus 11? Okay, so 6 is equal to the absolute value of 8 minus p. Okay, once the absolute value is by itself, now I create my 2 equations. Okay, what's the first one? Okay, so 6 equals 8 minus p. What's the second one? Okay, negative 6 equals 8 minus p. Remember, it's the constant that changes. Okay, so let's see here. If I subtract 8, I've got negative 2 is equal to negative p. Is that my solution? Okay, why not? What's wrong? There you go. I want p, not negative p. So I still got to divide through by a negative 1 or multiply through. So my first solution is 2. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. Subtracting 8, that will give me a negative 14, but that equals a negative p. So I'm going to divide through. So now I have that 14 is equal to p. Now, because I absolutely value your time, you see what I did there? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you both of these work. Okay, so your solution, your roster, is 214. Okay, how are we doing? So that quiz that's coming up on Friday, that's what this is. I'm just giving you some equations you're going to solve. Okay, easy, easy, easy. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and start skipping around a little bit. Let's go ahead. Let's skip to number 13. Because I want to go ahead and start looking at something a little different. Now, if we happen to skip a problem that you want to go back and work, absolutely let me know. We will do that. Okay? So what's different about 13 than every other problem we've done so far? Yeah, you'll notice there's not only a variable inside, but there's also a variable outside. Okay, here's the good news. It doesn't change anything. You still are going to run through the same steps. First off, is the absolute value already by itself? Yeah. So we're going to do exactly what we would have done had it been just a number. So my first equation is exactly as I see it. 3x minus 9 is equal to x plus 1. Now, for the second equation, how do you think it's going to change? There you go. Just like you would take the opposite of your number, you're just going to take the opposite of whatever's outside here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 3x minus 9 is equal to, well, we have a positive x, so now it's negative. We have a positive 1, so now it's negative. There you go. So don't let that bother you. It's the exact same thing. And now we just solve it. Now we have a two-step equation. Okay. What term would you like me to move in the first one? You want me to move one of the x's or one of the constants? Negative x. Okay. So let's go ahead and subtract the x. Okay. Those are going to cancel. So I've got 2x minus 9 is equal to 1. Okay. Now I've got the x's together, but now I have to isolate it. So what's moving now? Okay, so that minus 9, we're going to add it. So 2x is equal to 10. So when I divide through, what's the first possible solution? X equals 5. Okay. There you go. One step at a time. Every step, it's getting smaller and smaller. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing over here. If I go ahead and move the same x, but this time it's negative, now I'm going to add it. Okay. Opposites cancel. How many x's do I have now? 4x. Now, just so I can save a little bit of time, let's go ahead and move the negative 9 over now. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 9. Now, if you want to go ahead and take it in an additional step like I did here, feel free. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Let's see. Someone not okay. So what should 4x equal? Hey. So negative 1 plus 9. Okay, that's going to give me an 8. And I heard someone say 2. Yeah, because when we divide through, there we go. Now, because we haven't seen one of these before, I will go ahead and show you, we'll go ahead and plug in. Okay, even though both of these do work. Let's say the 5, because it was our first solution. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so we have 3. If I go ahead and plug 5 in here, what's 3 times 5? Okay, so 15. So 3 times 5 minus 9 should equal x plus 1. But again, we found x to be 5. Okay, so what's a 15 minus 9? 6. So will the absolute value of 6 give me 6? Absolutely. If you plug in the 2, you're going to find the exact same thing. Okay, so we got a 2 and we got a 5. Just like that. Okay. Questions? Anybody confused? Anybody having a hard time? Okay. All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and get to the portion where it's the audience participation? All right. Now, what's the only difference between 13 and this 14 right here? Is the absolute value already isolated? No, so you have to do that first, then it's exactly like number 13. Okay, so let me give you a couple of minutes. Okay, go ahead and solve this one. And then I'm going to use the Wheel of Destiny. It's going to randomly pick somebody. I've shown you that before, right? Have I not? Oh, then you're in for a treat. Okay, so I'm going to spin the wheel in just a moment. One lucky individual is going to come on up here and show us how to work this. What's that? We are working number 14. 14. We are working number 14. Now, if you go ahead and take a look, remember the paper you picked up today, that's your assignment. These are just practice problems. That's all the homework is. It helps you practice so you can feel better about the material. But also, if you happen to fail a quiz, this is what allows you to retake. And I'll even give you a heads up on this one. One of your answers is going to be fractional, and that's okay. We love fractions. Yay. 5 out of 3 people would agree. See what I did there? Yeah. Aviana, you just look really amused. 45 seconds. All right, so in here, we go to seat number 34. Okay, so you know what? I'll leave 35. It's possible, but the likelihood is very low. I'll let 35 be me. If it comes up 35, then I'll work the problem. But surely that's not going to happen. Okay, so everybody's desk number is up here. Let me go ahead and give this a good shuffle. Okay, so this is what I refer to as the Wheel of Destiny. Okay, so as strange as it sounds, occasionally, you know, there's really not a whole lot of students who want to volunteer in math class. So kind of turned it into a game. Now, if you are in any way photosensitive, do not stare directly at this thing. It can mess with people. Okay, so here we go. After the wheel has spun. Okay, here we go. Oliver. There we go. Okay. And it never fails. Every time I see somebody's number come up, they got a big smile on their face. They're ready to go. Okay. All right. Oh, there's no markers, so you'll just have to use your finger. Okay, so Oliver's getting right to it, so he's dividing by 2. Okay, so shh. Okay, remember, we've got somebody who graciously volunteered to come up. Okay, so we want to make sure, go ahead and pay attention while they're doing so. So we've got h plus 8 is equal to 7h. Okay, perfect. Okay, so he's going to combine the h's by subtracting the h. So it looks like we're getting 6h is equal to 8. We'll divide through by 6. This is the fractional answer I was telling you about. Okay, so h equals, what is 8/6? There we go. So there's my first possible solution. Okay. Now remember, that's one equation. What would the other one be now? So he says h plus 8 equals a negative 7h. That's perfect. Okay. Take the opposite of that polynomial. Okay. So negative 7h minus h, we got negative 8h equals 8. Here in the home stretch. Okay, we're going to divide through by negative 8. There we go. He's got his second answer. H equals negative 1. Good. All right. Now, how did we do? Did we get those 2 solutions? Okay. I will tell you, though, only one of them works. Which one doesn't work? It's not the fraction. The fraction actually works. So here are my two solutions. We got an h equals -1, and we got h equals 4/3. Let's go ahead and check the -1. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say 2, absolute value, h plus 8 is -1 plus 8 equals, remember, if I plug -1 in here, 14 times a -1 is a what? Do you notice it? What was it that I cautioned you about earlier? Even if I divide through by the 2, which is a positive number, the absolute value is going to equal what? A negative. Absolute value can never give you a negative result. So I don't even need to go any further. I know that one doesn't work. Okay. But if you were to plug in the 4/3, that does. So this one only has one solution. And very possible it could be a fraction. That's okay. All right. So I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and do one more. You folks walk me through it, and then we're done. Okay, we're done for the day. Sound good? Okay. So I'll let you choose. Do you want 15 or 16? 16. Okay. You want to spin the wheel? Who asked that? Kareem, you want to spin the wheel? You know what? I'll actually say, in my experience, those who volunteer others secretly want to do it themselves. Won't let you spin the wheel, but I'll let you come up and work the problem. He thought about it. He said no. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So I've got -4w minus 2 equals 6w plus 20. Is absolute value already by itself? Yes. What do I do? Okay, so what's my first equation? Okay, ooh, if I could write a 4 here, that'd be great. So -4w minus 2 equals 6w plus 20. Okay. What would my second equation be? There you go. Remember, whatever it equals, you're taking the opposite for the second equation. So positive 4w plus 2 equals 6w plus 20. There we go. Okay. Now, we're going to solve this one first, the one on the left. Madison, what term would you like me to move? One of the w's or one of the constants? The constant. Which one? Okay. So let's go ahead and add the 2 over. Opposites cancel. Okay. So this is going to give me 22. Can I go ahead and move the w's at the same time, or does anybody want me to keep it a separate step? Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and say minus 6w. Okay. So 22 equals what? How many w's do I have? -10w. Now all I have to do is what? Okay. We're going to divide by this -10 right here. So my first possible solution, -22 over 10. Okay. Whew, that was close. It almost got 2 tenths in here. It almost got 2 tenths in here. 2 tenths. Come on, that's a good one. Okay. So this one's going to be a -11 fifths. Okay. Here's a possible solution. Okay. All righty. And now let's run through the other one. Okay. Who I'm going to talk to? Carlos, what term would you like me to move? Okay. Let's move that 2. So I'm going to subtract the 2. Opposites cancel. So now 20 minus 2 this time is going to be a plus 18. Okay. So let's do the same thing. Let's go ahead and move the 6w over while we're at it. So minus 6w, minus 6w, but this time it's a 4w minus 6w. -2w is equal to 18. So I go ahead and divide through. W equals what? -9. And I will tell you again, if you were to plug either of those back in, both of them check out perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and say, in fact, which one is the smaller? The -9 is the smaller value. So I'm going to go ahead and say -9, -11/5. But even if you'd switch those, not a concern. I'm not worried about that. Okay. So only these right here, these are the types of problems you're going to see on that quiz Friday. Okay. So tomorrow we'll come in. We'll go ahead and spend a little bit of time looking at the assignment. Remember, the key is already posted to the website. So if you're not able to come in for tutorials, you can just look this up and see how you're doing. Choose a few problems and see if it's good. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and move on to absolute value inequalities. And then we're done for tomorrow. Okay. Yay. All right. So if you'll go ahead and get those calculators back up to the front, please.